Hello, listeners, and welcome to Boomerang. This is Team 4 bringing you the news from the West Lothian Courier with permission, published on Thursday, the 30th of January 2025. And our readers today are Jackie, who has kindly prepared the paper for this recording, Alison, Kate, and Joyce. Margaret and Joan will join us later to take care of the distribution of the wallets, and Harry is our recorder and copier as usual. We record our broadcast on a Friday, and what a difference in the weather this Friday compared with last week. I hope that Storm Ewan did not cause too much damage in your area. It's good to see signs of spring now, though, with snowdrops struggling through the cold ground and lifting our spirits. Our broadcast, as usual, will be in 4 parts. Part 1 will be general news. Part 2 will include family announcements. Part 3 will have more general news items and the quiz. And in Part 4, we will include news about local sport as well as the answers to the quiz. Can I remind you that when you have finished with the recording, please put the memory stick back into the blue wallet, turn over the address label, and post it back to us here in Whitburn from a post box and not the post office. So, having said all that, let's get started with the lead story this week and Kate.
Community rallies to give support. Let's come together to honour Little Hope. Families struggling to come to terms following the tragedy by Ross Thompson. A fundraiser set up to help the family of a tragic West Lothian girl smashed its target in less than 24 hours. The GoFundMe was started by a close family friend of Hope Gordon, a 6-year-old found dead next to her dad at a property in West Calder's Harburn Drive on Monday, January the 20th. Almost 9,000 had been raised for the grieving family by the time the Courier went to press. Family friend Melanie Wheeldon said, "Let's come together to honour Hope's memory." A fundraiser set up to help the family of the murdered West Lothian girl smashed its targets in less than 24 hours. The GoFundMe, started by a close family friend of Hope Gordon, a 6-year-old found dead next to her dad at a property in West Calder's Harburn Drive on Monday, January 20th. A major emergency service response swarmed the streets and gained access to the home where they tragically found the body of Hope and her 36-year-old dad, Mark. Police have since confirmed Hope's death is being treated as murder, and the death of her dad remains unexplained. However, they believe nobody else was involved, and there is no threat to the wider public. Melanie Wheeldon, a close family friend, started the fundraiser to contribute towards Hope's funeral and described her as a vibrant and loving girl with an infectious smile. Melanie added how the hearts of friends and family were left shattered following the heartbreaking discovery, and the void left by the loss can never be filled. Almost 9,000 has now been raised. Let's come together to honour Hope's memory and offer support to her family. May Hope's gentle soul rest in eternal peace, was written by Melanie Wheeldon. And there's over 350 donations. On January the 20th, 2025, our hearts shattered as we learned of the tragic and senseless murder of 6-year-old Hope. Hope was a vibrant and loving little girl, known for an infectious smile, kind spirit, and deep love for animals. Hope's life was tragically cut short, leaving a void in the hearts of her family and friends that can never be filled. This GoFundMe page has created to help Hope's family with the unexpected funeral expenses during this incredibly difficult time. Every contribution, no matter how small, will be deeply appreciated. If you are unable to donate, please consider sharing this fundraising link with your friends and family to help spread the word. Let's come together to honour Hope's memory and offer support to her grieving family. May Hope's gentle soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you for your compassion and support. Hope's local school, Toronto Primary School, also paid tribute to a much-loved pupil who had a bright, bubbly and an affectionate personality. Toronto Primary School head teacher Fiona Linfoot said, "Hope was a much-loved member of the Toronto primary family and will be hugely missed by all her friends and school staff. She was a bright, bubbly and affectionate girl who brought joy to everyone she met. We will really miss her infectious smile and kind heart. We would ask everyone to respect the privacy of her family and the school community at this difficult time. Help and support is available to any of our pupils or staff affected by this tragic news." Detective Superintendent Grant Henry of the Major Investigation Team said, "Our thoughts remain with Hope's family and friends, along with everyone affected by this tragedy. The families are understandably devastated, and we are providing them with support through specialist officers at this extremely difficult time. Our team of officers continues to carry out inquiries to get answers for the family, and at this time, we have no information to suggest anyone else was involved. I would ask that anyone with any information, no matter how small or insignificant you think it is, gets in touch with the police. To donate to the fundraiser, you can do so by logging into www.gofundme.com/f/hope-Gordon. And this is accompanied by two pictures, one of the house where Hope lived, and outside there's flowers being left by well-wishers. And in the centre there's a picture of the young lady herself, and she's a beautiful, vibrant young girl who has been tragically taken."
And following on from that article, there is another by John Paul Clark, headed "Mum Unaware of Any Danger." A heartbroken mum whose 6-year-old daughter was found dead in a property with her father says she was not aware of any danger the youngster may have been in, after police said they believed she was murdered. Margaret Cairns from Livingston says she would never have let her daughter Hope stay with her dad if she knew she would come to any harm. The 6-year-old and her father, Mark Gordon, 36, were both discovered dead in a property on Harborne Road, West Lothian, on Monday, January the 20th, after alarm bells were raised when the youngster failed to attend school. The call triggered a large emergency services response, with police later saying they believed Hope's death to be murder, while Mark's is being treated as unexplained. Mum Margaret is now being supported by her close pal Melanie Fielden, 44, who launched a fundraiser to help contribute towards Hope's funeral when the time comes. Melanie said, There was nothing that happened in the lead up to this that could have sparked anything in Mark, and there were no hints at all that he was a violent man. They had shared custody of Hope, but if Margaret had any idea that her daughter was in any sort of danger, then she would not have been allowed to go there to stay with Mark. Nobody can believe Hope is dead. We had no idea Mark was capable of anything like this. I have known Margaret a very long time, but have never known her to be so upset. She is really struggling to cope with all of this and is at her lowest point. How do you get over your daughter being murdered? Margaret is being as strong as possible, but having to see Mark's face plastered all over the news is so upsetting for her. She just wants to think of Hope just by her first name now, so she doesn't have to associate her with Mark in any way. Margaret and Hope had a really special relationship, and she wants to focus on that.
Horror of Holocaust Remembered by Michael Pringle. Victims and survivors of the Holocaust were remembered at a special memorial event in West Lothian. The annual Holocaust Memorial Day, which took place on Monday, January the 27th, is a day when the millions of people killed in the Holocaust under Nazi persecution are remembered, and in the subsequent genocides in Cambodia, Rwanda, and Bosnia. This year's Holocaust Memorial Day theme was For a Better Future. A remembering event was held at the Howden Park Centre in Livingston, opened by Councillor Lawrence Fitzpatrick, leader of West Lothian Council, and was attended by hundreds of school pupils. It featured readings and presentations by pupils from Armadale Academy, Broxburn Academy, St Margaret's Academy, and West Calder High School, as well as performances from the West Lothian School's flute ensemble. Nick Silk, of the Edinburgh Liberal Jewish community and member of the West Lothian Faith Group, delivered 2 poignant remembrance prayers before Provost Cathy Muldoon closed the event. Provost Muldoon said, "Today's ceremony gave us all a powerful reminder of the role that we can all play as individuals so that events like the Holocaust never happen again. As the years go by, it becomes ever more important that we remember those lost in the Holocaust. Thank you to all those that took part today."
Poynton in Holocaust Memorial Commitment. Livingston MP Gregor Poynton signed the Holocaust Educational Trust Book of Commitment. Holocaust Memorial Day fell on January 27th, the liberation of the infamous former Nazi concentration and death camp Auschwitz-Birkenau. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the Auschwitz liberation in 1945. Across the UK and internationally, people come together to remember the Holocaust. 2025 also marks 80 years since the liberation of the Nazi concentration camps of Europe and the end of World War II. Mr. Poynton said, "Holocaust Memorial Day this year marks 80 years since the liberation of the infamous former Nazi concentration and death camp Auschwitz-Birkenau in 1945. It presents an important opportunity for people from across Livingston constituency and West Lothian to reflect on the darkest times of European history. I pledge to remember the 6 million Jewish men, women and children who were murdered in the Holocaust and speak out against all forms of anti-Semitism, which in recent months has risen exponentially and which needs to be tackled head-on." Karen Pollock, CBE Chief Executive of the Holocaust Educational Trust, added, "This year, on Holocaust Memorial Day, we come together to mark 80 years since the liberation of the extermination and concentration camps of Europe. We remember the 6 million Jews, men, women and children who were murdered by the Nazis and their collaborators, and we honour those who survived and rebuilt their lives after enduring unimaginable horrors. The images and accounts that emerged at liberation revealed the full scale of the Nazis' attempt to annihilate the Jewish people, and this gave rise to the enduring call, 'Never again.' As we mark this significant anniversary, the lessons of the Holocaust remain as urgent as ever, with survivors becoming fewer and frailer, and with anti-Semitism continuing to scourge across the world. We must all commit to remembering the 6 million victims."
Kyle rescues OAPs as street blocked in storm. And this article is by Nicholas Malizia. A West Lothian man rescued a street of elderly residents whose road was entirely blocked by fallen trees following Storm Eowyn. Kyle Rayburn works as a landscaper and jumped into action when he saw a post from a client on social media saying that her elderly mother's road was completely obstructed by tree limbs. Within an hour of seeing the post, along with his friend Ryan MacLeod, Kyle arrived on the scene at Manscourt in East Calder. A street, he says, is full of elderly folks in sheltered housing. Free of charge, he brought his landscaping equipment to help clear the debris, which he said had been lying there for several days, in the aftermath of Storm Eowyn. Kyle told our sister site, Edinburgh Live, we had to climb over a fence and fallen trees to get to the other side of the street. If emergency services were needed, they couldn't get through. Kyle was concerned that if an elderly person had a medical emergency or the fire service was needed, the services would not be able to access the street. He added the carers were trying to access housing on Man's Court for 3 days. Kyle added it was completely blocked. Carers were trying to go in and out, but they couldn't get in. God knows how long it would have taken if we hadn't gone. The debris on Man's Court was reported to West Lothian Council. A spokesperson from the council said the street was on their list, but services were inundated with over 600 reports of fallen trees, adding that their teams worked tirelessly throughout the weekend to investigate and resolve all reported issues as quickly as possible. Within 2 hours, Kyle had cleared the street to the gratitude of its residents. One grateful local, whose mother lived on the road, told Kyle, "Goodness knows how long it would have taken to clear if you hadn't stepped in. Thank you so much from everyone at Man's Court." A carer who works at Man's Court said, "Thank you so much. Nice to know there is kindness in the community of East Calder. It won't go unnoticed from a grateful worker at Man's Court. Such a lovely gesture." Kyle used to grit the road at Man's Court during the winter time and said it was extremely rewarding to return when the residents needed help. He said, "It felt great. I felt we'd made a difference. If a fire broke out or an ambulance was needed, no one could get to them. We used to grit there in winter time, and it caught my eye knowing people were trapped there." A West Lothian Council spokesperson said, "Since Storm Eowyn hit West Lothian on Friday, we have received over 600 reports of fallen trees across the area. Our teams have been working tirelessly throughout the weekend to investigate and resolve all reported issues as quickly as possible. Due to the volume of reports over the weekend, it will understandably take our operatives a bit of time to visit all incidents. On this occasion, we understand the area had been cleared before our operatives were able to carry out a visit."
Food support charity is given £15,000 donation by Michael Pringle. A social enterprise charity in West Lothian has received a funding boost from a foundation set up a decade ago by a house builder. The Persimmon Foundation has donated £15,000 to The Larder, an inspiring charity based in Livingston that's dedicated to addressing food insecurity and empowering individuals through training and support. The Larder delivers a range of initiatives that tackle food insecurity while fostering long-term resilience and self-sufficiency. Their work includes delivering more than 200,000 ready meals to those in need and providing training on employability, life skills, health and well-being. Their innovative Catalyst Kitchen projects include meal deliveries, dining events and cook and dine classes, which promote community cohesion and support. The donation from the Persimmon Foundation will help the Larder expand its programmes, enabling more young people to gain valuable qualifications, work experience and essential life skills. Angela Moon, CEO of the Larder, said the Persimmon Foundation's donation will strengthen the Larder's ability to serve the West Lothian community and advance its mission of tackling food poverty and creating pathways to personal and professional growth. Since being established in 2015, the Persimmon Foundation has focused on promoting urban regeneration, advancing health and education, and relieving poverty and disadvantage. Over the past 3 years alone, the Foundation has donated around £1.5 million to more than 1,400 organisations across the UK, reflecting its commitment to supporting communities where the Persimmon Group develops. For more information about the Foundation's work and community initiatives, visit Persimmon Home's website. And there's a photograph alongside this story. It's taken in the larder, which has got a very nice backdrop of food in bold colours. There's a lemon at the top and maybe some sliced cucumber and a strawberry on a fork. And the big check is being handed over and being received by a group of happy people who are working in the larder, including 2 who are wearing Christmas jumpers. So this must have been before Christmas time.
Little seedlings set to return. Dobie's Garden Centre's popular Little Seedlings Club and Grow How workshops return for February at the Livingston store, inviting gardeners and families to get hands-on at these free sessions. These workshops are open to people of all ages and with all level of skill, whether an expert, a beginner, or something just starting out a new hobby. Dobie's popular Grow How workshops will take place on Saturday, February the 1st and Wednesday, February the 5th at 10:30 till 3:30 at the Livingston store and will focus on growing your own tomatoes. It will cover the history of the popular fruit as well as offering tips and advice on how to grow and care for your tomato plants. Customers taking part will also get the chance to taste and learn about different varieties and the most popular kinds that are grown in the UK. These include Gardener's Delight, a cherry variety of tomato that was the most popular tomato plant sold at Dobie's in 2024. Other popular varieties include Old Favourites Moneymaker and Alicante, as well as tumbler varieties that are ideal for baskets and containers. Dobie's Little Seedlings Club is designed for children aged 4 to 10 years old and will take place on Sunday, February the 2nd. During the workshop at the Livingston store, Dobie's colleagues will take passionate young gardeners through the wonderful world of tomatoes, unveiling the origins of the world's most popular fruits, bursting fruits and vegetable myths, while taking part in fun and interactive games. Children will learn how to grow their own tomatoes and how to help them thrive on the windowsills. They'll also learn care tips, fun facts, and the different varieties and flavourings. Dobie's Little Seedlings Holiday Club will also return in February throughout half-term. To find out more about the free workshops at Dobie's, visit store at the Dobie's website.
And that brings us to the end of part 1. And in part 2, family announcements will be included. Welcome to part 2, and we will begin with the family announcements. This week there is only the one announcement, and it is a death. Carr, Marilyn. Peacefully at St John's Hospital on Sunday the 19th of January 2025, aged 80 years. Much loved granny to Shelley, Samantha and Sharon, and great granny to Lee and Madison. Loving mother-in-law to Kenny. A funeral service will be held at West Lothian Crematorium on Thursday, the 6th of February at 10 a.m, to which all are welcome. And now we will continue with more local news from the Courier and Jackie.
Bank closure brings credit union support. Council backing to help organisations support families. And this is by Stuart Somerville. Credit unions across West Lothian are being backed by West Lothian Council as another high street bank shuts its doors. The Royal Bank of Scotland closed in Bathgate this month, and the town faces the loss of the Bank of Scotland branch in June. Bank closures also threaten Linlithgow, while many smaller towns and villages have lost their branches in recent years. SNP Group Deputy Leader and Bathgate Councillor Pauline Stafford warned that many families struggled during the cost of living crisis as traditional banks desert high streets, with many facing mounting debts and becoming prey to unscrupulous lending practices. The joint motion between the SNP and Labour, signed by Council leader Lawrence Fitzpatrick, said, "Credit unions have the potential to play a major strategic role in the fight against poverty and financial exclusion. The big banks say that changing customers' practice means that high street branches are no longer viable. RBS noted that more than 97% of its retail accounts are operated over the internet. As of December 2023, there were only 404 bank branches left in Scotland, with 636 banks and building societies closing since 2015. More than 60% in just 9 years. Cash access has also been restricted by the loss of post office counters. The composite motion agreed by Council said, "As a result of the withdrawal of many of West Lothian's high street bank branches, there are many people who will struggle further to manage their finances. Without credible, structured and accountable alternatives, they could fall victim to unscrupulous lending practices. We have also recently seen the withdrawal of WLC counter staff as another blow to hands-on financial accessibility. The Council already offers financial help and advice through the advice shops, and staff can contribute through payroll deductions to a credit union. The motion suggested giving wider support to existing credit unions through Council information sites and encouraging the establishment of credit unions, potentially including establishing a credit union development officer, as Scottish Borders Council has. One of the key requests asked the Council to consider introducing cautions to anyone accessing payday loan sites on Council computers. The motion adds the Council should consider introducing a mechanism so that any member of the public trying to access payday loan sites from Council-provided public computers in libraries and community centres will trigger a warning page when accessed, and information on how to contact more affordable lenders in the area, like the credit union, can be provided. Councillor Stafford added, "I'm sure most of us know and value the work that's done in our credit unions currently to support our communities. I think there's still more we can and should do to help raise the profile of credit unions further and explore ways that we can further embed them in a greater range of Council services. Their services have become even more important in the last decade as endemic and worsening inequality continues to blight our society, and as mainstream banks withdraw from communities, as has just occurred in my own ward. We also know that the current UK financial sector is not well suited for many low-income households, and so families that have no or very low credit rating, they face financial exclusion and often pay a poverty premium just to access mainstream credit. Many of these families are now relying on these loans to cover basic household costs such as food and energy bills. Having a range of options for them is really essential."
Council is still committed to property plans, by Stuart Somerville. West Lothian Council remains committed to plans for new homes in the centre of Livingston after the collapse of one of the key contractors involved in the project. The new supported housing for young people at a site beside West Lothian College was being built off-site by the Ayrshire firm Connect Modular, which went into administration at the start of the year. The use of a modular building system promised the new homes would be ready inside a year from the start of the project last July. The SNP's Willie Boyle raised the question at this month's meeting of the Council's executive. He asked, given the news about the collapse, what will be the impact on the Livingston project? Head of Housing, Julie Whitelaw, told the meeting, "It's too early at this stage to be clear about the delivery of the project, but we are working closely with our delivery partner, Hub South East." Hub South East is the development partner of the Council for major construction projects. Connect Modular Limited, which is part of the Wee House Group, based in Cumnock, collapsed early in the new year. A total of 48 members of staff were made redundant across the company. The firm builds modular homes provided to housing associations, local authorities and community trusts across the UK as part of the wider firm. Construction in Livingston started in July last year, with the home set to be completed and ready to let by September this year. The land was a vacant site off Amondvale Crescent behind the Tony Macaroni restaurant and adjacent to West Lothian College's campus. The supported housing consists of 28 one-bedroom flats with 16 flats designed with potential for future use as mainstream housing. Flexible office space will be provided for a maximum of 10 staff, along with staff overnight accommodation to provide dedicated space and privacy while still being on hand to assist and support the young people. The affordable housing will provide 20 homes with a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom houses along with 2 3-bedroom flats. A West Lothian Council spokesperson told the Local Democracy Reporting Service after the meeting, "The Council has been made aware of the situation regarding Connect Modular. The Council is not in a direct contract with Connect Modular. Hub South East, a key delivery partner for the Council, appointed Connect Modular for the construction phase of the project. The Council remains committed to the delivery of new affordable housing in West Lothian, and we are working closely with our delivery partner, Hub South East, to seek clarity on the developing situation and a way forward for the project." And the photo is of people from the council and from the contractor who are standing wearing hard hats and high-vis jackets in front of some very heavy machinery, including a big roller and a crane.
Tax hikes could hurt whisky jobs by Stuart Somerville. Tax increases on the whisky industry could hurt West Lothian jobs. Councillors have been warned as calls were made for the Labour government to reverse planned rises next month. While West Lothian's minority Labour-led administration tried to justify the coming tax increases, the party's amendments scraped home only by the casting vote. 4 Conservative councillors and the Lib Dem, who normally back the Labour group, abstained, tying the SNP and Labour at 13 votes apiece and leaving Provost Cathy Muldoon to back Labour. In what was a bruising day at a meeting of the full council, the Labour group saw its vote tied again on another vote over national insurance as the Conservatives and Lib Dem abstained. It then lost a vote over the proposed council response to the government's decision not to consider compensation over changes to pension age for the so-called WASPy women. SNP group leader, Councillor Janet Campbell's motion said the February's increase in duty on whisky could do huge damage to West Lothian and has 2 distilleries as well as a bottling operation. Well-known names include Scotch whisky producers Glenmorangie and Glen Turner work in a food and drink sector which employs more than 2,500 in the county. The SNP motion called on the Chief Executive to write to the Prime Minister and Chancellor demanding the February increase be reversed, as well as writing to local MPs. Councillor Campbell said the duty increases, along with other budget increases in fuel costs introduced by Labour, were a blatant attack on the industry. Councillor Willie Boyle highlighted the threats on tariff from newly installed US President Donald Trump as evidence that markets can change, adding that however successful the industry was, it needed all the support it could get. An amendment by Councillor Susan Mannion, the Deputy Labour Group leader, said, "The Council commends the UK Government for raising revenue to fund essential public services. The industry will continue to thrive while at the same time, through reasonable pricing and duty tax levels, contribute to a healthy economy." She added, "The industry is thriving and does very well." Labour veteran Tom Conn slated the SNP's Holyrood decision to increase the price per alcohol unit from 50 pence to 65 pence as a move more damaging to the industry. That was backed by the independent Andrew Maguire, who said that while the SNP had quoted the chief executive of distillers Diageo in its motion, the drinks giant had been equally critical of the SNP's pricing per unit increase and its potential threat to jobs. He branded the motion astounding for all its party politics. Conservative group leader Damien Doran-Timson branded both the motion and Labour's amendments as jaundiced party politics, reminding Labour councillors the party had backed the similar unit pricing in Wales. Councillor leader Lawrence Fitzpatrick told the meeting, "Every government of every colour increased duty on alcohol," and he said that massive loans had to be repaid by the government. And this goes along with a picture of the Glenturner distillery and says, "Councillor fears for West Lothian's thriving whisky industry."
WASPI, that's WASPI, Women Welcome Decision, and this is by Ross Thompson. The coordinator of West Lothian Women Against State Pension Injustice, that's WASPI, WASPI, welcomed the local council's decision to condemn the UK government's decision to refuse the Ombudsman's recommendation of compensation for 1950s-born women. Carla O'Hara explained to councillors that in March last year, the Parliamentary and Health Service Ombudsman ruled that women born in the 1950s should receive compensation for the inadequate notice they received of changes to their state pension age. They had been denied accurate information to enable them to plan for this major change to their lives after the age of 60, and so compensation should be paid. Ms. O'Hara said, however, December 12th, the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions made the shock announcement that no compensation at all should be paid to the women affected, although the government accepted that there had been maladministration and had apologised. Surely an apology is meaningless if no redress is provided. Parliament was not given the opportunity to debate or vote on the issue. It was just a statement from the government, which came as a shock to most MPs. Ignoring the Ombudsman's recommendation for financial compensation is almost unprecedented. In fact, in over 99.9% of cases, public bodies have accepted such recommendations. The government's refusal completely undermines the very office of the Ombudsman, supposed to be the independent arbiter appointed by Parliament on its behalf. How can anyone have confidence in the Ombudsman after this? Ms. O'Hara then answered questions from councillors. The Council agreed to write to Liz Kendall, MP, Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, requesting that a vote be held in the House of Commons which would allow local MPs to vote to reverse the decision against compensation. Ms. Kendall's announcement was branded a, quote, day of shame, unquote, for the new Labour government.
Emergency Homeless Grant given by Stuart Somerville. An emergency £2 million grant to help tackle homelessness is to be used by West Lothian Council to accelerate home repairs and build new houses. A 5-year national programme to tackle homelessness is reaching an end, with homeless figures rising across Scotland. In West Lothian, those figures have been fuelled not only by the cost of living crisis and challenging housing market, but by successive changes in housing law. Now the council is preparing to reset its plans to tackle homelessness with fresh ideas. Sarah Kelly, Housing Needs Manager, told a meeting of the council's executive, "The supply pressures that faced West Lothian have not reduced over the duration of the Rapid Rehousing Transition Programme, RRTP, and demand still far outstrips supply by over 300%. In November, additional grant funding of £2.2 million was confirmed for this financial year by the Scottish Government via the Affordable Housing Supply Programme, the AHSP, to address temporary accommodation pressures, with a focus on acquisitions and bringing void properties back into use. The funding must be spent this financial year, with properties being available for let by 31st of March. The bulk of this money, £812,000, will be spent on 6 new build homes at Deans South in Livingston. This funding will be drawn down by Wheatley Homes as part of the Deans South project, and the council will receive nominations for these. Of the extra funding, £400,000 will be used to accelerate bringing long-term and high-cost mainstream empty houses, known as voids, back into use. This will bring an additional 50 void homes back into use. A further £360,000 will cover the purchase planned for this year of 9 buyback properties, while £430,000 will allow the council to buy back 10 more by the end of March. Councillor Willie Boyle asked, "What's the current position we're in with voids at the moment?" Ms Kelly said the figures had improved and promised to circulate a report to members, which was presented to councillors on the Housing Services PDSP in December. Chairing the meeting, council leader Lawrence Fitzpatrick said he'd seen the report and the improvements in the turnaround time because of the prioritisation programme. He added, "The foot's on the accelerator." In December, the Local Democracy Reporting Service highlighted the shocking state some council homes had been left in by ex-tenants, with filthy bathrooms and squalid kitchens with rubbish piled high. Specialist contractors have to be brought into a large number of vacated homes to clear them of rubbish before major improvement works can be carried out, costing up to £10,000 a property. Grant Taylor, Building Services Manager, told the December meeting that by the end of November, Building Services had completed refurbishment of 1,143 mainstream and temporary tenancy homes in the 24-25 financial year, an average of 33 a week. Of these, 990 have now been let. Building Services received 936 new voids during the same period to 30th of November. The RRTP was launched by the Scottish Government in 2018. A report to the Executive highlighted, "The proposed update notes that there remains a significant imbalance between the demand and supply of affordable social homes in West Lothian, with severe pressures in homeless services. RRTP has also been impacted by unprecedented external challenges such as COVID-19 and the cost of living crisis. These external pressures included many made homeless by private rental increases. In other cases, private landlords sold up, making many families homeless. The Scottish Government has also introduced changes to housing rules, including, in 2022, allowing households from outside the county to apply for housing in West Lothian, removing the familial connection restriction which had existed."
We have now come to the end of part 2, and in part 3 we will begin with the quiz. Welcome to part 3, and we will start with this week's quiz. Question 1. Which instrument of the violin family is held between the knees? Is it the viola, the violin, or the cello? Question 2. Of which country is the island of Bali a part? Is it Indonesia, Malaysia, or India? Question 3. What sort of creature is a gar? G-A-R. Is it a mammal, a fish, or a bird? Question 4. Which British artist and ornithologist founded the Wildfowl Trust at Slimbridge? Was it Sir Peter Scott, or John James Audubon, or David Attenborough? Question 5. With which Italian city is the Medici family associated? Is it Florence, or Rome, or Naples? Question 6. Which British colonial administrator founded Singapore and the Zoological Society? Was it George Vancouver, or Thomas Stamford Raffles, or James Cook? Question 7. What name is given to the duplication of banknotes with the intention to defraud? Is that called embezzlement? Or is it called forgery? Or is it called counterfeiting? Question 8. Which animals are called ships of the desert? Camels, giraffes, or elephants? Question 9. In which European country is the city of Charleroi? Is it Belgium, the Netherlands, or Luxembourg? And the last one for today. Which British naval officer was captain of the Bounty when the crew mutinied in 1789? Was that Horatio Nelson, or James Cook, or William Bligh? That's the quiz for today, and I'm sure you'll do well. Okay, now we will move on to more local news and Kate.
5 years on, has Brexit been a benefit or a burden? Brexit has allowed Britain to look outward and strike own trade deals. No more running for skirts of the EU, says John Cooper, Conservative MP for Dumfries and Galloway. Benefit or burden? Here's a politician's answer. Brexit has been both. I was a special advisor with the Scotland office when Brexit was finally delivered, and it was clear that some sectors, fishing especially, faced challenges. There were problems getting fresh and, in the case of langoustines, live produce from our pristine Scottish waters to marketplaces in Europe on time. Many of these issues were caused on the far side of the Channel, while the UK had a digital-first presumption. Authorities elsewhere insisted on teams of paperwork and were awkward devils about the correct colour of ink on the forums. Let's forget the idea that the EU is a matey place where we're all liked in a self-centred protectionist bloc. We battled to get the anomalies sorted. Forms which required you to strike through every sort of fish you weren't exporting were streamlined, so you ticked the boxes for what your lorry was actually carrying. Systems which recognised only monkfish fillets and monkfish tails were tweaked to add monkfish cheeks and, in demand, a delicacy. So yes, a burden. But equally, firms who were told as 5 years ago that this new burden meant they'd be out of business in months are still going. Fishermen will also tell you that they don't miss being yoked to the EU, Common Fisheries Policy. So yes, a benefit. Now, instead of looking backward, we need to look forward. Brexit is a done deal. Europe is still open to us, and Scotland's main trading destination is the rest of the UK. So we ought to be worrying more about SNP agitation for changes to the UK Internal Market Act, which guarantees an equal playing field in terms of standards for firms on both sides of the border. Far from making us look inward, Brexit has allowed Britain to look outward. Taking the compensative and progressive agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership, the CPTPP, it's a mouthful, but it's also a gigantic opportunity for us to trade with one of the emerging economic superblocks, with member states including Japan, Canada and Australia, responsible for around $16 trillion of wealth. We're in that thanks to Brexit. As Europe's economic power fades in 1980, the EU represented about 30 pence of the global economy. By 2050, it may be as little as 9 pence. The economic tilt is towards the east. And Brexit allows us the chance to benefit and to strike our own deals with the United States and India, the former established leader and the latter an emerging global phenomena. Let's have no more running for the skirts of the EU when Britain is well capable of standing on its own 2 feet in a global marketplace. My constituency of Dumfries and Galloway is a dairying superpower. A growing middle class around the Pacific Rim see dairy products as a sign of their wealth and sophistication. Brexit gives us the chance to marry our produce with their buying powers. So let's lift our eyes beyond the burdens of Brexit and deliver the benefits.
Now, on the other hand, we have a piece here, and it's saying whether it's been a burden or Brexit has been a burden or a benefit. So Scotland's vote to stay in EU was ignored, and we are poorer to the tune of billions of lost revenues. And that's the heading, says Alan Smith, the Vice President of the European Movement. In the 2016 EU referendum, Scotland voted 62% to remain within the EU, with a majority in every counting area. I remember the campaign, such as it was, well. In Scotland, it was utterly overshadowed by the Holyrood election on May the 5th. The new MSPs and political party activists were exhausted by that and had little energy for or interest in the referendum on June the 23rd. There was little debate. Instead, there was a general consensus that EU membership suited us, felt comfortable and didn't need changed. All Scotland's main parties, SNP, Labour, Tories, Lib Dems and Greens, were all pro-Remain. I remember umpteenth hustings where we couldn't find anyone to speak for the Leave campaign. We now know, of course, that a lot of the Leave campaign was online and pretty smart too, but they lost everywhere in Scotland. But it was a UK-wide vote. Scotland's vote was ignored, and we were taken out the EU anyway, 5 years ago this week, in the most chaotic way possible, after years of shambles at Westminster. The impact is now clear to anyone with eyes to see. Scotland and the UK are poorer, to the tune of billions of lost revenue, increased costs and red tape. You can see it on every high street and every public service budget. Of course, continuing austerity, the pandemic and the lunacy of Liz Truss's mini-budget haven't helped. But there is just no denying that every community across Scotland, the UK, is poorer and meaner for not being in the EU, and all of us have lost rights to work, study, live and retire across the continent. Also, there has been untold heartache and inconvenience for tens of thousands of new Scots folks who have paid Scotland the supreme compliment of making us their home, but had to go through a humiliating process of securing their legal right to stay. Many decided not to and took their talent and enthusiasm elsewhere, leaving us with a recruitment crisis on top of everything else. But so much is history. How do we fix it? We need to get back into the EU as Scotland or as the UK, and there's a non-partisan campaigning organisation working for just that. The European movement in Scotland are a diverse bunch, from all politics and none, united around the idea that Scotland and the UK, if it comes to it, need to rejoin the EU. Not because of any passing events like the Trump presidency, although it has certainly concentrated some minds, but because we believe countries should work together, share ideas and work in concert to beat common challenges like the energy transition and climate crisis. Scotland has many constitutional futures to choose from, and that will rightly remain a lively debate, but EU membership transcends this, and we will continue to press the argument. Come and join us. Search for European Movement in Scotland, or find us at www.euromovescotland.org.uk/join us.
Shoppers get a treat from the Style Squad by a staff reporter. Whether it was the perfect time for a wardrobe upgrade or replacing old makeup and brushes or grabbing some last-minute bargains in the sales, the Style Squad team decided to surprise and delight some lucky shoppers at the centre Livingston and pay for their purchases. With over 150 stores to choose from, including River Island, H&M, Flannels and M&S, and so many great places to enjoy a bite to eat like Wagamama, Nando's and Five Guys, the shopping centre is top of the list for people to visit locally and from further afield to enjoy a great day out. They caught up with everyone from friends on a mission to get 2025 off to a new stylish start, popping into stores like River Island and H&M to embrace the out with the old, in with the new January tradition, and snapping up oversized jumpers and hoodies to team up with joggers and leggings, cosy, comfy and cute, to couples browsing for gift ideas and gym wear. With burgundy and cream colours and a splash of cherry red trending this season, they came across some shoppers going for a fresh new look by injecting some seasonal shades into their wardrobe and new prints too, with anything leopard designed continuing to be very popular. What they didn't expect when they caught up with them was to be taken by surprise, with the offer of giving them a £25 gift card towards their shopping, resulting in a few whoops, jumps for joy and a tear or two. First up on the radar to surprise and delight was barista Molly Atkinson and shop manager Declan Pearce from Dunfermline, who were stopped at the till in River Island to pay for Molly's new bag and jewellery. Molly said, "I can't believe I've been this lucky today to have my bag paid for me. We've been enjoying a day out at the shopping centre, with Declan treating himself to animation figurines from Waterstones. Then we had lunch at Five Guys. I thought I'd nip into River Island to see if I could find a new bag for a party I'm going to on Saturday, and landed lucky, not only finding one I love but being gifted it by the shopping centre." Next up was Erin Ennis from West Lothian, who is studying at university to be a music teacher, who was treating herself to a new glitzy top and quiz for her birthday celebrations. Erin was enjoying a day out with her mum, which they do regularly at the centre Livingston, often enjoying a bite to eat in Nando's, when they were stopped to ask if they could pay for her new top. Erin said, "I definitely wasn't expecting my purchase to be paid for today. What a lovely surprise. I'm over the moon, thank you. It feels like my birthday has come early this year." On a mission to gift even more shoppers with the offer of paying for their purchases, staff bumped into local mum Carol Goldie, who is a customer service advisor, with her daughter Rebecca in body care, who both love shopping and are big fans of the centre Livingston. Caroline said, "We are blown away with how lovely it was to be stopped at the till in body care when we were buying new makeup brushes with the offer to pay for them. We were really just nipping into a few shops to enjoy some time together and grab a bite to eat. I can't believe how lucky we were, thank you. Caitlin McParland from Glasgow, who was enjoying a shopping day out with her grandma, was another lucky shopper to be picked in the Surprise and Delight walkabout when she was buying a very cute pair of Adidas trainers for her friend's little boy and a baseball cap for herself in Foot Locker. Caitlin said, "Not for a minute was I expecting my purchases to be paid for today. What a really nice thing for the shopping centre to do." It was lovely to catch up Euphemia Wynne from Bathgate, who was shopping with her daughter in M&S, which is her favourite store. After enjoying lunch in the cafe, it was time to check out the sales, where she snapped up a beautiful brown sequined top, matched perfectly with a green cardigan from the latest collection. Euphemia said, "I always find something really nice in M&S, which I've shopped in for years. I wanted to find a nice top for special occasions in the sales. And as I was browsing, I spotted a lovely green cardigan, which is my favourite colour, in the knitwear section. When I was stopped and asked if I'd like my sequin top paid for as a little gift from the shopping centre, I couldn't believe it. It was such a lovely surprise, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you so much. It really made my day." Last up on the mission to surprise visitors by paying for their shopping was university student Jamie Lee McCormack from West Lothian, who was picking up some bits and pieces in H&M, including 2 jumpers, for her upcoming holiday to Amsterdam. She said, "I really love coming to the centre Livingston, whether it's for a new holiday wardrobe from Primark or special outfit for a night out, or even just to have a wander. However, the highlight today was definitely having my purchases paid for by the team at the shopping centre. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before. It was such a great surprise. Thank you so much." Patrick Robertsi, Centre Director at the Centre Livingston, said, "It was an absolute delight to stop some lucky shoppers at the Centre Livingston in our first Surprise and Delight walkabout of the year and offer to pay for their purchases. Not only was it a great opportunity for us to chat to our visitors and find out more about their trip to the shopping centre, but it also gave us the chance to bring a little bit of joy to their day." And accompanying the story are a lot of photographs of very, very happy shoppers. So they all have big smiles on their faces, as you can imagine, and they're holding up the gift cards that were donated to them by the Centre Livingston. First, the mum and her daughter, who are in the body care shop. That's Carol Goldie and Rebecca, who are holding up their makeup brushes and smiling. The little shoes, the little Adidas shoes that were bought in Foot Locker, and there's lots of the lady who is in Marks and Spencer's buying her brown sequin top and with her lovely green cardigan. Everybody, as you can imagine, is looking very smiley indeed, and it's obviously made their day.
MP highlights food's insecurity. Bathgate and Linlithgow MP Kirstine Sullivan has highlighted the dangers of food insecurity and the obesity crisis during a parliamentary debate. The discussion shed light on the complex relationships people have with food and the urgent need for robust action to address health inequalities across the UK. During the debate, Kirstine drew upon her experience as a former councillor in West Lothian to highlight the growing pressures on families struggling to afford healthy food. She shared how her involvement in championing the Cooperative Party's Food Justice campaign led to the establishment of the West Lothian Food Network. This vital organisation, which now has 21 member groups, has supported low-income and disadvantaged families, particularly during the pandemic. The West Lothian Food Network, WLFN, has been a lifeline for many, said Kirstine. I want to thank the incredible staff and volunteers at the various organisations that have been WFNL members over the last year. as well as West Lothian Food Bank and Bowness Storehouse for their dedication to addressing food insecurity in our communities. The debate underscores the importance of local initiatives such as community gardens run by Whitburn Community Development Trust and West Lothian Food Bank, which makes fresh produce accessible to vulnerable families. However, Kirsten stressed the need for systemic changes to make healthier options affordable. She added, communities with the least are disproportionately impacted by an unhealthy food environment. Limited access to fresh, healthy foods, coupled with the prevalence of processed and fast food options, exacerbates the issue. This inequality is compounded when areas without supermarkets are ill served by local transport, leaving many without real choice.
Next article is a car is torched in Bathgate Hills. Police have launched a probe after a car was torched while the owner was camping with friends in West Lothian. Scott Kerr, 24, returned from the overnight trip at a wooded area in the Bathgate Hills to find his Ford Fiesta completely burnt out. The vehicle was parked on Limefield Road in the town, and officers from Police Scotland have confirmed they are treating the blaze as willful. A picture taken by Scott after he discovered the car showed it to be completely destroyed by the blaze. He said, "My car was broken into and burnt out at the side of the road up the Bathgate Hills on Friday night whilst I was camping. I discovered the car at noon on Saturday afternoon. I couldn't believe it. My mate was asking where my car was. We got closer and I realised that it was my car sitting there and it had been set on fire. Bathgate is a good place to live, but I hear stories of senseless crime happening. It makes me annoyed that people think that's acceptable. Cops say their inquiries are ongoing." A Police Scotland spokesperson said around 12:15 p.m. on Saturday, January the 18th, officers received a report of a burnt-out vehicle on Limefield Road, Bathgate. There were no reports of any injuries. The fire is being treated as willful and inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances.
We have now come to the end of part 3, and in part 4, some local sports news will be included. Welcome to part 4, and we will begin with the answers to the quiz. Question 1. Which instrument of the violin family is held between the knees? It is the cello. Question 2. Bali is part of Indonesia. Question 3. A gar. What sort of creature is a gar? Well, a gar is a fish. Question 4. The British artist and ornithologist who founded the Wildfowl Trust at Slimbridge was Sir Peter Scott. Question 5. The Italian city associated with the Medici family was Florence. Question 6. The British colonial administrator who founded Singapore and the Zoological Society, that was Thomas Stamford Raffles. Question 7 was the name which is given to the duplication of banknotes with the intention to defraud. That's counterfeiting. Question 8. The ship of the desert is the camel. Charleroi is in Belgium. And the last question, which British naval officer was captain of the Bounty when the crew mutinied in 1789? That was William Bligh. Well, I hope you all had some success with that quiz today. And we shall go back to news from the Courier, starting with the sports news and Kate.
Rose up to third. Linlithgow Rose boss Gordon Hurd heaped praise on his players after a 3-0 win over Berwick took them up to third league in the Lowland League and kept the fine run going. The Gallant have only lost 3 games in all competitions since August 20, with one of those in the Scottish Cup to Championship side Wraith Rovers, and that form has propelled them up the table. Goals from Sean Brown, Connor McMullen and Alan Snedden gave them a comfortable home win on Saturday to put them within 5 points of leaders East Kilbride, who have 2 games in hand. And Hurd said, "I thought we were excellent overall the park. My only grumble is that I have thought we should have scored more goals. We were excellent and we were really at it. I can't believe that stat 3 defeats. We are maybe a bit too hard on the boys at times, but they have set standards. One of the defeats was against a championship side. That is remarkable. The boys can take a lot of credit, but we are only in January. For me, we need to win a trophy this season. We just need to keep on staying as close as we can to East Kilbride and see where it takes us. Rose are on Lowland Cup duty this Saturday, where they welcome Caledonian Braves in a first-round tie."
Celtic goalie Lola grabs big chance, and this is by Andy McGilvray. And there's a picture of Lola here in her Celtic top. Lovely girl, long blonde hair pulled back into a pony's tail and smiling. And here's the story. Livingston goalkeeper Lola Rose Rarity was in the right place at the right time, but intends to grab her opportunity at Celtic with both hands. The 14-year-old was playing for Blackburn Football Club when she was scouted by the Glasgow Giants 2 years ago and has been told that she will be given a contract for at least another year. Lola juggles that while turning out for Scotland under-16s and recently took part in an under-17s camp. Scotland schools representing West Lothian and St Margaret's Academy and schoolwork. Proud mum Sophie says the teenager takes it all in her stride. She said, "It's amazing. That's her in her 2nd season at Celtic, and they've already said that she will be there going forward next year, so she's in their plans. That's all she needs to know at that age. She's very dedicated. She's been taking part in Scotland internationals and Scotland schools for the local authority. I think there are only a few girls who have done that for West Lothian, so it is amazing." She played for Scotland under-16s in a double-header over in Ireland in November, and she's doing Scotland schools. She also went and trained with the Scotland under-17 squad, and a lot of the girls in that squad are full-time first-team players. When you think that Lola is 3rd year at high school, and for those girls that's their actual career, it's crazy. Sophie admits she and husband Callum can't believe how Lola is handling everything. She explained, "Lola started at Blackburn FC, her wee local team. She was at training one night and there was a Celtic scout there. So she was very lucky, right place, right time. She had only been playing football for 8 months when she got scouted, so she has done really well in a really short space of time. She's a very relaxed girl. She won't even mention her football. She's really chilled. She juggles everything. We're so impressed. My husband and I can't believe it. When we get to go to parents' night I'll read that again. When we go to parents' night at school, you obviously wonder that she's missed a lot of schooling because she's away to camps and is away for weeks at a time. And you wonder how that's going to affect her academically. But the school have been so supportive and she's absolutely smashing it at school as well. I don't know how she's doing it, but she is. She's in all her top sets and is doing really well. We are just so proud.
Livy Boss, close gap on Bairns. Martindale aims to do double on Falkirk to boost title bid, by Andy McGilvray. Livingston boss David Martindale has targeted a win at Falkirk on Friday night to reignite the championship title race. While the Lions gaffer insists it's just 3 points at the Falkirk Stadium and is under no illusions over how difficult that will be, he concedes it's a chance to close the gap on their rivals to just a point. Falkirk will then have a game in hand, but Martindale is looking for his players to show what they can do and grab a second win over the Bairns this season with a draw in the first meeting of the sides. And he praised the job that Falkirk boss John McGlynn and assistant Paul Smith have done since winning League One just last season. Martindale said, "It's a big game, every game is a big game, and it's the same 3 points. But obviously you can gain 3 points on one of your rivals. What I will say is that Falkirk are sitting top of the league for a reason. They've shown real consistency, they've got continuity, and John and Smudger have done a great job. So it's going to be a difficult game. We need to go out and win it, but that's no different from any other Saturday. We need to go out and win games of football, and this Friday night is the exact same. There's not a lot between the teams. I don't think there's a lot between the top 3 or 4. To be fair, I don't think there's a lot between any teams on their day. Anyone can take points off anyone, so the teams at the top end, for obvious reasons, have shown a wee bit more consistency than others, but it's a really competitive league. 3 points would be brilliant for us, so we'll go there and try to win, but we're under no illusions how hard it's going to be. We're more than capable of doing that, but on the flip side of that, Falkirk are more than capable of winning the game also. We need to find the best version of us to give ourselves the best chance of picking the 3 points up." Livingston follow their trip to Falkirk with an SPFL Trust Trophy semi-final at Dunfermline on Wednesday evening and welcome Cove Rangers in the Scottish Cup last 16 on February the 8th. "It's a good place to be. I was saying that to the boys, that it's testament to the players in the changing room," said Martindale. "I haven't got them to where they are in the league or to the semi-finals. It's the players. Players win you leagues and cups and make you competitive. I think it's a huge compliment to the players in the changing room that we find ourselves competing in 2 cups and still in the hunt for promotion. They've all played a huge part in different stages of the season." And there's a photograph alongside this. It's captioned "More or less, more of this please," and it's Livy's Tete Yangi scoring in the 1-0 win over Falkirk in November. So it's a picture of Tete. He's just kicked the ball and he's pushing it straight past the Falkirk number 8 Spencer.
This article is by Detective Chief Inspector Bob Campbell, and it's headed "New Year, but Criminal Tactics Remain the Same." It is a new year, but the tactics used by criminals to enter your property or vehicle and steal from within remain largely the same. Therefore, so does the advice we provide to communities to ensure that they can minimise the likelihood of being targeted. While the darkest evenings are now behind us and it is staying lighter for longer, we are still in winter, and that means additional periods of darkness that can provide criminals with longer hours of cover to operate. With that in mind, I would encourage all homeowners and tenants to consider the security around their property, particularly when they are heading to bed for the evening, or when they leave their home unoccupied. First and foremost, please remember to lock all doors and windows and close curtains and blinds to prevent would-be thieves getting an easy view of what is inside. High-value items, where possible, should be stored safely and securely out of immediate sight, and house and car keys should not be kept near your doors and windows. This mitigates the ease in which a housebreaker can enter the property, retrieve said items, and then steal your vehicle. We also know that some members of our communities prefer to store large sums of cash, jewellery, and even gold within their properties, and this is not something we would recommend. If possible, consider using banks, safe deposit boxes, and other means of secured storage for these goods. For your property itself, please consider investing in robust locks for doors and windows, motion-activated lighting, alarms, and even CCTV or doorbell cameras. All these additional measures make your home a far less attractive prospect for criminals. In the same vein, please remember that sheds, garages, and other outbuildings are extensions of your home and should be secured in a similar fashion. All too often, we find that these buildings are loaded with lots of valuable items. However, do not have the same level of security as the main home, making it a far easier target for them. When leaving your vehicle unattended for any period, please try to ensure it's parked somewhere well lit and that items of value are either taken with you, or if this is not possible, then ensure that they are stored safely out of sight. Much like your home, remember to lock doors and do not leave any windows open. Of course, we know that as acquisitive crime can also take place outside of the home, and our advice to staying safe extends beyond your property too. If you are heading out, then wherever you go, please remember to always hold on to your stuff and never leave things such as phones, wallets, bags, or other belongings unattended at any point. In busy areas, be mindful of anyone getting too close and be vigilant for any attempts to reach into your pockets or take anything from your bags. Acquisitive crime can extend beyond trying to obtain your physical possessions, and criminals have been known to try and obtain PIN numbers or remove money from bank accounts using handheld card readers. There are wallets, purses, and other items that can be purchased to block these devices, and we'd encourage everyone to consider them for storing their cards. Similarly, if you are entering your PIN number manually, be mindful of anyone trying to catch a glimpse of your number. We have a full range of crime prevention advice available. You can get all the information by logging on to our website at www.scotland.police.uk. Please visit the site and help us help you safeguard your home, your vehicle, and all of your belongings.
Susan changes her life after shedding fantastic 4 stone by Ross Thompson. A West Lothian woman's weight loss journey has been nothing short of transformative. Prior to her weight loss, Susan Duffin felt constantly tired, sore, and worried about her health. The turning point came when Susan from Blackburn was attending the hospital for issues with her legs. Initially, doctors suspected it could be multiple sclerosis, MS, but further tests showed nothing definitive. It was during this time that Susan realised she had been neglecting her body for years, and it was time to start taking better care of herself. That moment marked her decision to join Slimming World. She said, "I could really feel my health declining and I knew I had to do something. Once I passed the 4 stone marker, I really believed I could do it." Having a consultant like Nicola, who had gone through the same journey, also gave her the confidence that weight loss was possible for her too. The biggest challenge for me was not listening to people who thought I'd lost too much weight. Many were so accustomed to seeing her overweight that they didn't recognise what a healthy weight looks like. One of Susan's favourite aspects of Slimming World is the food optimising plan, which she has seamlessly integrated into her plant-based vegan lifestyle. She loves making simple, wholesome meals like mashed potatoes with mushroom gravy and broccoli. "Even though my meals are basic, they taste great," said Susan. "It shows that food doesn't have to be fancy to be amazing. I've not only smashed my weight loss goal, but also changed my mindset, I feel happier with how I look, but more importantly, I feel amazing. Slimming World consultant Nicola Brown, who runs various Slimming World groups in Blackburn, couldn't be prouder of Susan's success. She added, "She's absolutely smashed it. I love how enthusiastic she is about food optimising and how she's incorporated it into her vegan lifestyle. Susan's positivity and support for others in the group have been a huge asset. She is super supportive and motivating to other members of the group, and she's always so lovely and genuine." Nicola runs groups in Blackburn Masonic every Tuesday and Glen Mavis Tavern, Smiths, in Bathgate every Wednesday, Thursday and Saturday. Contact Nicola on 07500 874 127 for more information.
How long have we?
And moving on to another story, Christmas shoppers thanked. Kind-hearted shoppers in West Lothian have been thanked for contributing to the 125,000 toys donated to children in need during the run-up to Christmas. Before the festive celebrations, the Tesco stores across West Lothian called on shoppers to support a collection of toys so that families whose children would otherwise not receive a gift wouldn't miss out on the big day. People across the community responded enthusiastically to the campaign, with 518 brand new toys being gifted to groups Cash for Kids and West Lothian Toy Appeal, bringing a smile to many children's faces on Christmas Day. Claire De Silva, Head of Communities at Tesco, said, "We really can't thank our customers enough for their kind contributions to this great cause. Throughout the year, our stores give support to children and their community, and without fail, local people support us in our efforts. So we are grateful to the people of West Lothian for showing that the magic of Christmas is very much alive and well."
Joker J is really good for a laugh, and this is by Ross Thompson. Murrayfield Primary School in West Lothian joined primary schools across Scotland to launch VoiceBox 2025, a national joke-telling competition for primary schools. The competition, which officially launched on Blue Monday, aims to spread joy and highlight the power of communication. On the first day of joke-telling competitions took place across Scotland as schools select their entries to be put forward for this year's final, organised by the Royal College of Speech and Language Therapists, that's the RCSLT. 9-year-old Shay Martin of Primary 6 was Murrayfield's winner, with the judges voting his joke the best in class. Shay's joke was, "What do you call a dog with no legs?" Answer: "It doesn't matter what you call it, it's not coming." VoiceBox is a celebration of the critical role communication plays in children's development. It showcases the importance of communication skills and speech and language therapy and aims to inspire confidence, creativity and connection among school children. Glenn Carter, head of RCSLT Scotland, said, "VoiceBox is a shining example of how humour and communication can bring people together. By encouraging children to express themselves through jokes, we are helping to nurture essential communication skills while bringing joy to everyone involved. These services open doors to better education, improved mental health and stronger employment opportunities. It's our aim to shine a spotlight on the transformative power of speech and language therapy in improving life prospects while raising a laugh along the way." The VoiceBox 2025 final will take place on Thursday, June the 5th, with finalists from each of Scotland's local authorities gathering at the Scottish Parliament, hosted by the presiding officer, the Right Honourable Alison Johnston, MSP. The event will once again be compared by journalist and comedian Zara Janua ensuring a day filled with laughter and fun. And there's a picture of Joker J, and he's in his school uniform for Murrayfield Primary, and he's got just a hint of a smile on his face. I think he's thinking up another joke.
And that lighter note brings us to the end of our broadcast for this week, and we hope you found it enjoyable and informative. Please put your memory stick back into the blue wallet, change the address label, and remember to post it in a postbox and not the post office. All that remains is to send you our very best wishes for the coming weeks, and until next time, take care. So it's cheerio from Team 4.